My heels echoed through the empty marble lobby like a countdown timer. Another 14-hour workday, another victory for my career, another year older, and still nothing. I'm Sarah Mitchell, 32 years old as of today, Senior Marketing Director at one of Chicago's most prestigious firms. I handle accounts worth millions. I've built campaigns that changed entire industries. But tonight, standing in that elevator, watching my reflection in the mirrored walls, all I could see was a woman who couldn't get her own family to remember her birthday. 0 messages, 0 calls. I told myself it didn't matter, that birthdays are childish, that I'm too successful to care about such trivial things. But when I unlocked my apartment door and saw that pathetic little cake sitting on my coffee table, the one I'd bought for myself that morning, something inside me cracked. One candle, unlit, standing there like a tiny soldier, waiting for orders that would never come. "Happy birthday to me," I whispered to the silence. I dropped my briefcase, kicked off my designer heels, sank into the couch cushions of my beautifully decorated apartment that suddenly felt hollow. Empty. Like a stage set for a life I was only pretending to live. The clock on my wall ticked toward midnight. My birthday was dying, minute by minute. I reached for my laptop, thinking I'd distract myself with work. Maybe review that presentation one more time. Maybe check emails, but my fingers betrayed me. They opened Facebook instead, and that's when I saw it, the post that shattered everything I'd been telling myself about family loyalty, about blood being thicker than water, about how they were just busy, just overwhelmed, just. There he was, my brother Derek. Champagne glass raised high, surrounded by dozens of smiling faces. And behind him, hanging from the ceiling of our parents' house, was a banner that read, "Congratulations on your promotion, Derek." My father's arm was draped around his shoulder, pride radiating from his face like Derek had just cured cancer. My mother stood on his other side, beaming up at her golden boy like he'd hung the moon. The timestamp on the photos said 4 hours ago, 4 hours ago, while I was still at the office. While I was working late, while I was sitting alone at my desk, occasionally glancing at my phone, hoping they were throwing him a party on my birthday. I scrolled down, each photo a fresh wound, dozens of pictures. The entire extended family was there. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't seen in years, all gathered around Derek, celebrating his achievement. The comments made it worse. "So proud of our superstar," my father had written. "The Mitchell family legacy continues," my mother added. My hand started trembling so badly I had to set the laptop down. You see, they didn't forget my birthday. That would have been almost forgivable. A simple mistake, an oversight. No, they chose to celebrate something else instead. They chose Derek. Again, the memory hit me without warning. 11 years old, sitting, alone at a restaurant table, watching a birthday candle melt into my cake while I waited for my family to return from Derek's debate competition. "We'll be back in time, sweetheart," they'd promised. They weren't. Then at 17, shipped off to my grandmother's house for my birthday weekend while my parents toured Princeton with Derek. "It's his future, Sarah," Dad had explained, not quite meeting my eyes. "You understand, don't you?" I understood. I always understood. My college graduation, summa cum laude, top of my class, overshadowed by Derek's engagement announcement at what was supposed to be my celebration dinner. Within minutes, the conversation shifted from my academic honors to wedding venues and guest lists. Just last month, my father had dismissed the campaign that increased our clients' revenue by 47%. "It's just marketing, Sarah," he'd said, glancing at his watch. "Not like Derek's work in corporate law. That's real impact. Real impact." I sat there on my couch, staring at those Facebook photos, and something inside me went very, very quiet. Not sad, not angry. Quiet. An email notification popped up on my screen. I clicked it mechanically, still numb. It was from my boss. My performance bonus had been approved. $85,000. $85,000 for the campaign my father had dismissed as just marketing. My phone rang, shattering the silence. Mom's name lit up the screen. For one foolish, pathetic moment, hope fluttered in my chest like a dying bird. Maybe she remembered. Maybe she was calling to apologize for the delay. Maybe— "Hello?" I answered, hating the eagerness in my voice. "Sarah." "Oh, darling, I'm so glad I caught you." My mother's voice bubbled through the speaker, bright and cheerful. "Listen, we're planning something special for Derek and Amanda's anniversary next month, and I was hoping you could help organize it. Nothing major, just handling the catering, maybe the decorations. You're so good at that sort of thing." The clock struck midnight. My birthday was officially over. "Mom," I said quietly, "today was my birthday." Silence. Then, "Oh, just— oh, honey." With Derek's big promotion, it just completely slipped our minds. Slipped their minds, like always. I stared at that email. $85,000. More money than I'd ever had at once. Something shifted inside me, like tectonic plates sliding into a new formation, like a switch flipping in my brain. "Don't worry about it, Mom," I said, and my voice sounded strange even to my own ears. Calm, almost pleasant. "I understand what's important to this family. And for the first time in my 32 years of life, I truly did understand." "Oh, good," she said, relief flooding her voice. "So about the anniversary party." "I have to go," I interrupted. "Work emergency." I hung up before she could respond. Then I sat there in the darkness of my apartment, birthday cake melting on the coffee table, staring at that bonus confirmation. $85,000. And a choice. I could keep being the daughter who understood, who made herself small, who celebrated everyone else's achievements while her own went unnoticed, or I could choose myself. For once in my life, I could choose myself. I opened my laptop and started searching. Real estate, investments, possibilities. By the time the sun rose on the day after my birthday, I had a plan, and it started with one simple word. No, 4 days later, I sat in my office at Horizon Marketing, fingers hovering over my keyboard, frozen in complete disbelief. The group chat glowed on my screen like evidence at a crime scene. The Mitchell family thread, the one I wasn't supposed to be part of, the one my mother had accidentally added me to that morning. My stomach turned as I scrolled through the messages, each one more damning than the last. Sarah should contribute significantly to Derek's anniversary gift, my father had written. At least $25,000. It's the least she can do. My mother's reply appeared below. She just got that massive bonus, time she supports the family for once. Time I support the family, for once. As if I hadn't spent my entire life supporting them. Emotionally, financially, silently. But here's the thing that really got me, the thing that made my blood run cold. My own mother had spelled my name wrong, not once, 7 times throughout the thread. Sarah should understand, she'd written. Sarah needs to step up. Sarah's bonus is family money. Sarah, 1 R. My mother couldn't even spell her own daughter's name correctly. I'd been alive for 32 years, and she still didn't know how to spell my name. I leaned back in my office chair, the leather creaking beneath me. The Chicago skyline stretched beyond my window, buildings glittering in the afternoon sun. I should have been preparing for tomorrow's client presentation. Instead, I was discovering just how little I mattered to the people who were supposed to love me most. My phone buzzed. A text from Derek. "Hey, can you connect me with your contact at MediaTek? Have a potential client I want to pitch." I stared at the message. This was the 3rd time this month. Derek had been using my professional contacts without asking, pulling my connections into meetings for his law firm, leveraging my relationships for his benefit, and I'd let him, every single time. Because that's what family does, right? Sarah? I looked up to find my best friend Rachel standing in my doorway, her dark curls bouncing as she entered. She'd been my closest friend since we started at Horizon 5 years ago. "Your brother's calling again?" she said, then narrowed her eyes at my expression. "What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." I turned my laptop toward her without a word. Rachel scanned the group chat, her frown deepening with each message. "Wait," she said slowly. "They expect you to give them $25,000? For Derek's anniversary party?" "Apparently, it's time I support the family," I said, the bitterness sharp on my tongue. Rachel's eyes widened. "Sarah, this is actually insane. And she spelled your name wrong. Your own mother spelled your name wrong." 7 times, I confirmed. "What have they ever done for you?" Rachel asked, perching on the edge of my desk. Her bluntness was exactly what I needed. "Seriously, in the past year, what has your family actually done to support you?" The question hung in the air. My office phone kept blinking. Derek, waiting for me to pick up, waiting for me to hand over another contact, another favor, another piece of myself. A knock on my door interrupted us. Lawrence Martinez, CEO of Horizon Marketing, stepped inside, immaculate in his charcoal suit despite the late hour. "Sarah," he said, sliding a folder across my desk. "The Westbrook campaign numbers just came in. 47% increase in their quarterly revenue. The board is ecstatic." He smiled, and it reached his eyes. "This is why I fought for your bonus. You've earned every penny. Actually, I want to talk to you next week about the senior director position. I think you're ready." After he left, Rachel squeezed my shoulder. "See? At least someone appreciates you." I finally answered Derek's call, keeping my voice professionally neutral despite the anger simmering beneath. "Hey, sis." His voice boomed through the speaker, all charm and confidence. "Listen, I need a huge favor. There's this guy at Media Tech, their chief marketing officer. I need him at my dinner tomorrow night. Big potential client. You know how it is. Family helping family. Family helping family." Those words again. "I'll see what I can do," I said, non-committal. "Awesome. You're the best. Mom told me about the anniversary party thing, by the way. 25 grand seems totally fair, right? I mean, Amanda and I have been together 5 years. That's a big milestone. I need to go, Derek. Client call." Sure. Thanks again, sis." I ended the call and sat in silence. That evening, instead of going straight home, I stopped at Mrs. Henderson's apartment on the 3rd floor of my building. She opened the door with a warm smile that crinkled the corners of her eyes. The scent of freshly baked cookies wafted from her kitchen. Right on time. "Dear," she said, ushering me inside. Mrs. Henderson was 86 years old, moved with the determination of someone half her age, and had become more of a mother to me than my own. For 3 years, Tuesday evenings had been our ritual. Me bringing takeout, her providing dessert and wisdom, the family I'd chosen, rather than the one I was born into. We sat at her small kitchen table, the checkered tablecloth soft beneath my fingers. "You look troubled," she observed. Pushing the cookie plate closer, I told her everything. About the group chat, about Derek using my contacts, about the $25,000 they expected me to contribute, and she spelled my name wrong, I finished, hearing the childish hurt in my voice. Mrs. Henderson's weathered hand covered mine. "Some parents never truly see their children," she said gently. "They're too busy looking at their own reflection, at their own expectations, their own disappointments. I don't know what to do," I admitted. "Yes, you do," she said. "You're just afraid to do it." Her words followed me home that night, lingering, uncomfortable, true. By Friday, the family pressure had intensified. 3 voicemails from my mother, 2 texts from Derek, 1 email from my father with the subject line, "Family Obligations." I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I made an appointment. Saturday morning, I sat across from a real estate agent named Patricia Chen, sharp suit, sharper eyes. "I'm looking for something specific," I told her. "Lakefront property, within 2 hours of Chicago, privacy, space, somewhere that's mine." Patricia smiled. "I have exactly what you're looking for." The Mitchell family mansion loomed over Lakeshore Drive like a monument to privilege and expectations. 3 stories of stone and glass. Manicured lawns. A circular driveway where my beat-up Honda looked distinctly out of place next to Derek's BMW and my father's Mercedes. It was Saturday evening. Family dinner. The summons had been issued by my father in his typical imperious tone. We need to discuss your contribution to Derek's celebration. 7 o'clock. Don't be late. I sat in my car for 5 full minutes, staring at that house. I'd grown up there. Spent 18 years learning to make myself invisible. Learning that Derek's achievements mattered more than mine. Learning that my feelings were less important than family harmony. But I wasn't that girl anymore. I grabbed my purse and walked up those granite steps. My mother, Claudia, opened the door before I could knock. Perfectly coiffed blonde hair, designer dress, the mask of maternal concern firmly in place. Sarah, finally. Your father's been waiting. No happy belated birthday. No acknowledgement of what they'd done. Just, your father's been waiting. Inside, the familiar scene played out like a stage production I'd seen 1,000 times. My father, Richard, stood by the fireplace, drink in hand, radiating authority. Derek and his wife Amanda sat on the leather sofa, looking like a catalog advertisement for successful young couples. Dinner progressed with mechanical precision. Derek dominated the conversation, detailing his latest case. My father interjected with the perfect anecdotes about Derek's childhood brilliance. My mother added supportive commentary at exactly the right moments, pushed roasted chicken around my plate and said, "Nothing. The trap came with dessert." Sarah, my father set down his coffee cup with deliberate precision. "We need to discuss your contribution to Derek and Amanda's anniversary celebration." The room contracted. All eyes turned to me. $25,000 should cover the venue and catering at the country club, he continued. As the only family member with a recent windfall, it's appropriate that you take the lead on this. My mother nodded, her pearl earrings catching the light. Family supports family, darling. That's what we do. Family supports family. There it was again. The phrase they use like a weapon. I can't, I said quietly. My father frowned, not quite processing my refusal. I beg your pardon? I can't contribute $25,000. My voice steadied, growing stronger. That's nearly 1/3 of my bonus. I have other plans for it. Silence descended, thick, uncomfortable, unfamiliar. No one in this room was accustomed to hearing no from Sarah Mitchell. What other plans? My father's voice dropped dangerously low. What could possibly take precedence over your brother's milestone celebration? I met his eyes. My future. My mother's hand flew to her chest. Sarah, after everything we've done for you, her voice broke. Tears gathered in her eyes. The performance was flawless, designed to maximize guilt. 32 years of conditioning told me to apologize, to back down, to be reasonable. But something had broken inside me. What exactly have you done for me? I asked. The words hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. Derek shifted uncomfortably. Amanda studied her napkin. My father rose from his chair, towering over the table. I will not tolerate ingratitude in this house, he said, voice sharp as a blade. Your brother is the real achiever in this family, Sarah. He's carrying on the Mitchell legacy. The least you can do is support his success. Real achiever, Mitchell legacy. The words I'd heard my entire life, the measuring stick I could never reach. I need to go, I said, standing on legs that felt unsteady. My mother reached for my arm. Sarah, please. Don't make a scene. Don't ruin this family dinner over money. I'm not ruining anything, I said, pulling away gently. I'm just saying no. You're being selfish, my father declared. Childish, ungrateful, I grabbed my purse. Walked toward the door. If you leave now, my father called after me, don't expect us to forget this. I paused at the threshold. Didn't turn around. Good, I said simply. I hope you remember it. The door closed behind me with a quiet click that felt like thunder. In my car, hands trembling on the steering wheel, I made a promise to myself. This wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. The next morning, my phone exploded. 7 missed calls from my mother, 12 texts from Derek, 3 voicemails from various aunts and uncles, who'd apparently been briefed on my behavior. I silenced them all and made pancakes, real pancakes, from scratch, with blueberries. I ate them slowly, sitting by my window, watching Chicago wake up below me. My phone rang again. "Rachel," I heard, she said without preamble. "Derek called the office trying to find you. Said there was a family emergency." "There's no emergency," I replied. "Just consequences." "Good. Also, Patricia Chen called me. Apparently you listed me as a reference for a property? Want to tell me what's going on?" I smiled. "I'm buying myself a birthday present." "A property?" "Sarah, that's amazing. Where?" "You'll see." That afternoon, I drove 2 hours north to a small town called Harbor Haven. Patricia met me at a lakefront property that took my breath away. 4 bedrooms. Wraparound deck. Mature pine trees offering privacy. Wide windows facing water that sparkled like diamonds. "The owners already moved to Florida," Patricia explained. "They're motivated sellers. The price is fair at $375,000. I walked through empty rooms, imagining furniture. Imagining peace. Imagining a space that was entirely mine. "I'll take it," I heard myself say. Patricia's eyebrows lifted. "Don't you want to think about it? Maybe bring your family to see it." "No." The word felt clean, definitive, powerful. "This is for me. Only me." We returned to her office. "I signed preliminary paperwork. With your credit score and down payment, approval should be quick," Patricia said. "Welcome to Harbor Haven, Sarah." That night, Mrs. Henderson came to my apartment. I'd invited her for dinner to share the news. "You bought a house," she said, eyes shining with pride. "Oh, my dear, you finally chose yourself." "My family's going to lose their minds," I admitted. "Let them," she said firmly. "You've spent 32 years managing their emotions. Time they manage their own." The mortgage approval came through faster than expected. Within a week, I was signing closing documents. My family's calls intensified. But I didn't answer. They wanted explanations, apologies, compliance. I gave them silence. 2 weeks after my birthday, I posted a photo on social media, me, barefoot on a cedar deck, glass of wine in hand, Lake Michigan stretching endless behind me. The caption read, "Weekend at my new lake house. Birthday gift to myself." I pressed post and set my phone down. For 20 minutes, I simply breathed. Watched light dance across water. Listened to birds call from pine trees. When I finally checked my phone, the screen was flooded with notifications, 18 missed calls, 47 text messages. My mother had called 11 times in 15 minutes. I silenced the ringer and watched the sunset paint the water in shades of amber and rose. Not today, I thought. Maybe not ever. Monday morning brought a voicemail from my mother that made my coffee taste bitter. "Sarah Elizabeth Mitchell, you call me back immediately." "Where did you get money for a house?" "Your father wants answers. This is completely irresponsible behavior. People are asking questions we can't answer." Her voice rose with each word, hysteria creeping in at the edges. "How do you think this makes US look? Your brother drove to your office. You better be there." The final message arrived at 10 a.m. "There's a family meeting tomorrow night. We expect you there. Don't make this worse than it already is." I deleted them all. At work, I found Rachel waiting by my desk with 2 coffees and a conspiratorial grin. "Your brother showed up yesterday looking for you," she said. "Seemed pretty shaken when I told him you'd taken the week off. Asked if I knew where you were. What did you tell him?" "That your whereabouts weren't my information to share." She handed me a coffee. Then he got that Mitchell family look. You know, the one like I was the unreasonable one for respecting your privacy. I laughed, surprising myself with the sound. "But heads up," Rachel continued. "He cornered James from accounting, who mentioned something about Michigan. So they might figure it out eventually." I gazed out at the Chicago skyline. Let them. That week, I posted more photos from Harbor Haven, my new reading nook overlooking the water, the fireplace I'd filled with birch logs, sunset views from my deck. Each post was deliberate. Showing my life, my joy. My choice. The comments from friends and colleagues poured in. "You deserve this. The place is gorgeous. So proud of you." Noticeably absent, any comment from my family. On Thursday, My cousin Jennifer called. We'd been close once, before the family politics divided us into Derek's camp and, well, nowhere camp for me. Everyone's talking about your lake house, she said, voice hushed with calculated concern. Aunt Claudia is beside herself. Uncle Richard actually called a family meeting, but you didn't show. I was busy, I replied calmly. Hanging shelves, Sarah, she paused dramatically. People are saying things. What things? That you've been hiding money. That you're having some kind of breakdown. That this is all because you're jealous of Derek's success. I laughed then. A real, genuine laugh that bubbled up from somewhere new inside me. That sounds exactly like something my family would say. So it's not true, Jennifer pressed. The jealousy part? No. The rest? Also no. I got a bonus. I bought a house. That's called being a functional adult, silence on her end. Jennifer, I said gently, you can tell whoever sent you to call me that I'm fine. Better than fine. I'm happy. She hung up shortly after. That evening, I invited Rachel and some work friends to Harbor Haven for an impromptu housewarming. We grilled steaks on the deck, played music, watched the sun set over the lake. Lawrence, my CEO, brought an expensive bottle of wine with a handwritten note, to celebrating yourself. Mrs. Henderson arrived last, carrying a beautiful quilt made from fabric scraps in shades of blue and green. For your bedroom, she said, eyes crinkling with warmth. Every home needs something handmade with love. I hugged her tight, this woman who'd shown me more maternal affection in 3 years than my own mother had in 32. We took photos, laughed until our sides hurt, told stories under the stars. I posted these images too, my chosen family, celebrating me. The contrast to my biological family couldn't have been clearer. Friday night brought the call I'd been expecting. My mother. I answered on the 4th ring. Settling into my porch swing. Sarah Elizabeth Mitchell, she began, voice tight with controlled fury. This has gone far enough. Hi, Mom. Don't hi, Mom me. The Hendersons, the Carlyles, even Reverend Patterson has asked about your situation. My situation? This attention-seeking behavior. Her voice cracked. Buying a house without consulting the family. Posting those photos everywhere. People are asking questions. I rocked gently in the swing, watching moonlight shimmer on water. What questions? Her voice dropped to an urgent whisper. Why you would need to buy yourself a birthday present. Why we weren't there to help you celebrate. It's creating a very uncomfortable situation for this family. Uncomfortable for them. Not one word about how they'd made me feel. How interesting, I said lightly. It's almost like actions have consequences. We need to fix this. Her tone shifted to business-like determination. I'm organizing a family dinner Sunday night. Your father and I will explain that this was all a misunderstanding, that we've always supported you. The old Sarah would have agreed immediately, desperate to smooth things over, to make everyone comfortable again, but that Sarah was gone. I'm not available Sunday, I said. Sarah, but I am available Tuesday next week. 7 o'clock. And Mom? I paused. I'll be bringing some things to show everyone. Photo albums, documentation, evidence. Evidence? Her voice went shrill. Evidence of what? Everything, I said simply. See you Tuesday. I hung up before she could respond. The next few days passed in relative peace. I ignored the increasingly frantic calls and texts. Instead, I worked on my presentation because I wasn't just going to tell my family how they'd failed. Me. I was going to show them with evidence, with dates and times and photographs, with the receipts of 32 years of being invisible. Tuesday evening arrived cold and clear, loaded 3 photo albums into my car, added a folder of printed documents, included my childhood diary. Mrs. Henderson walked me to my car. You're doing the right thing, dear, she said, squeezing my hand. Sometimes the truth needs to be witnessed, documented, undeniable. I drove to my parents' mansion with steady hands and a clear mind. This wasn't about revenge. It was about reality, about showing them, finally, what they'd refused to see. I rang the doorbell instead of using my key. Tonight, I wasn't family. I was a prosecutor with evidence. The heavy oak door swung open. My father stood there. All 6'2" of him framed in the doorway, silver hair perfectly styled, eyes assessing me like I was a problematic employee. "You're late," he said, turning away without waiting for a response. No greeting, no warmth, just criticism, standard Richard Mitchell behavior. I followed him into the foyer where my mother waited, already clutching tissues. Her eyes were red-rimmed, makeup carefully applied to look like she'd been crying without actually ruining her appearance. A masterclass in performative emotion. "Sarah," she whispered, voice breaking. "We've been so worried." Derek appeared from the living room, drink in hand. He paused when he saw the photo albums in my arms, his confident expression flickering with uncertainty. "Dinner's ready," my mother said, leading us to the dining room. The table was set with the good china. Candles flickered in sterling silver holders, a peace offering, or a bribe. I placed the photo albums on the sideboard and took my usual seat, diagonal from my father, across from Derek. "Your mother made roast beef," Dad said, serving himself first as always. "Your favorite?" It hadn't been my favorite since high school. Derek loved it, but sure, my favorite. "Let's just get to the point," I said, leaving my plate empty. "I know why you called this dinner." My mother set down her fork with a delicate sigh. "Sarah, sweetheart, we're just concerned." "This impulsive house purchase, without consulting us first," my father interjected. "It reflects poorly on the family. Reckless spending. Poor financial planning." "It was my bonus money," I said quietly. "Money that could have been invested properly," he continued as if I hadn't spoken, "or contributed to something meaningful for the family." Derek cleared his throat. "Look, sis, nobody's saying you can't have nice things. But maybe selling the place would keep peace in the family. Mom's been really upset." My mother dabbed at dry eyes. "You're breaking my heart." "Sarah." I stood and walked to the sideboard. The first album felt heavy in my hands as I returned to the table. "I brought something I thought you should all see." My father's jaw tightened. "We don't have time for scrapbooks." "Make time," I said. My voice didn't waver. I opened the first album, pages and pages of Derek in party hats. Derek blowing out candles. Derek surrounded by mountains of presents. Every birthday from age 6 through 25, documented with professional photography. "Turn to page 16, I told Derek. He hesitated, then flipped the page. His 18th birthday. A car with a giant bow. Dad handing him keys. Mom crying tears of actual joy. I slid the second album across the table. "This one's mine." My mother reached for it, fingers trembling. Empty pages stared back at her. A few scattered photos. Me alone with store-bought cupcakes. One of Mrs. Henderson hugging me on my 30th birthday. Nothing else. There was nothing to put in it, I explained. Because there was nothing to document. Derek flinched. "On my 21st birthday," I continued, voice steady, "you were at Derek's engagement party. I spent it alone in my dorm room with a pizza." "You're exaggerating," my mother whispered. "Am I?" I opened the third album. Family vacations, Disney World, the Grand Canyon, a Mediterranean cruise. Notice anyone missing? I turned the pages. Every photo showed my parents and Derek, smiling, happy, together. "I wasn't there," I said, "because I was left with Grandma. Or at summer camp. Or told there wasn't enough money for 4 plane tickets." My father stood abruptly. "What's the point of this melodrama, Sarah?" "The point is evidence." I pulled out a printed spreadsheet. This tracks family spending over the past 15 years. Derek's college tuition, fully paid. Mine, student loans I'm still paying off. Derek's car, purchased. Mine, used Honda I bought myself. Derek's wedding, $50,000. My college graduation gift, a $100 check. I slid the paper across the table. The numbers told their own story. Tens of thousands for Derek, hundreds for me. My mother stared at the spreadsheet, face crumbling. "This isn't fair," she whispered. "You're right," I agreed. "It isn't." I produced my childhood diary, opened to a specific page. I was 9 when I wrote this. I read aloud. "Maybe next year they'll remember my birthday without Grandma calling to remind them." Derek's hand covered his mouth. "I was 11 when I sat alone at that restaurant, waiting for you to come back from Derek's debate competition. I was 17 when you sent me away on my birthday weekend. I was 22 at my graduation when you announced Derek's engagement." My voice remained calm, clinical, factual. Last month? Dad, you dismissed my campaign that increased client revenue by 47% as just marketing. But Derek's latest case? You called everyone in the family to celebrate. Finally, I pulled out the photo that had destroyed me. Derek's promotion party. On my birthday. 2 weeks ago. This was posted 4 hours into my birthday, I said, sliding it across the table. While I was still at the office, alone, you threw him a party with 50 guests. On my birthday. My mother's tears were real now. We didn't mean to. Yes, you did, I interrupted gently. Not consciously, maybe, but you've been doing it my entire life. Making a choice. Derek or Sarah, success or support. The golden child or the invisible daughter. I stood, gathering my evidence. I don't need your approval anymore. I don't need your love or attention or validation. I waited 32 years for you to see me. I'm done waiting. I turned toward the door. Sarah, Derek's voice cracked. I paused but didn't look back. The albums are yours to keep. Consider them a gift. Maybe spend some time looking at what you couldn't see when it was happening. The door closed behind me with a quiet click. Outside, I sat in my car for a long moment, hands resting on the steering wheel. No trembling this time, no tears, just lightness, like I'd been carrying a boulder up a mountain for 32 years and had finally set it down. My phone buzzed. Immediately, Derek, please come back. We need to talk about this, Mom. Sarah, you're being cruel. How could you humiliate us like that? Dad, this behavior is unacceptable. We raised you better than this. I silenced the notifications and drove home to Harbor Haven. The 2-hour drive passed in contemplative silence. No radio, no podcasts. Just me and the road and the slowly unwinding knot in my chest. When I pulled into my driveway, Mrs. Henderson was sitting on my porch swing, a thermos of tea beside her. How'd you know I'd need company? I asked. She smiled. 70 years of living teaches you a few things. How did it go? I showed them everything, I said, sitting beside her. Every photo, every receipt, every documented moment of being invisible. And nothing changed. Not really. They still don't get it. Mrs. Henderson poured tea into 2 cups. Change isn't always immediate, dear. You planted seeds tonight. Whether they grow or not, that's not your responsibility anymore. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the lake reflect moonlight. You know what the strangest part is? I said finally. I thought I'd feel guilty, or sad, or angry, but I just feel free. That's because you told the truth, she said. And the truth, even when it's painful, is always lighter than a lie. That night, I slept better than I had in months. No guilt keeping me awake, no imaginary conversations running through my head, just peace. The next morning, I woke to 17 new messages, but one stood out. Derek, can we talk? Just you and me. No parents, please. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to let him feel what I'd felt for years, invisible, unheard. Dismissed, but I wasn't them. I typed back, Harbor Haven, this Saturday, noon, come alone. His response was immediate. I'll be there. The rest of the week passed in a blur of work and preparation. Lawrence called me into his office Wednesday morning. Sarah, I wanted to give you a heads up. The board approved the senior director position. It's yours if you want it. 40% salary increase, your own team, full creative control on major campaigns. I stared at him. Processing. The official offer letter will come next week, he continued. But I wanted to tell you personally. You've earned this 10 times over. Thank you, I managed. Thank you. You seem surprised, he observed. I'm used to my achievements being overlooked, I admitted. His expression softened. Not here. Not on my watch. You're one of the most talented people I've ever worked with. Sarah, don't let anyone, family included, convince you otherwise. I walked back to my office in a daze. Senior director, my own team. Full creative control. The validation. I'd craved from my family my entire life. Offered freely by people who actually saw my worth. Rachel found me staring at my computer screen, grinning like an idiot. What happened? She demanded. I got the promotion. She screamed, actually screamed, and pulled me into a hug. Oh my God. Sarah, this is incredible. We're celebrating. Tonight. No arguments. That evening, a group from work took me to an upscale restaurant. They'd even brought a cake with, "Congratulations, Senior Director Sarah," written in elegant script. I posted a photo of the celebration. The caption read, "Surround yourself with people who celebrate your wins, not people who make you feel guilty for having them." Within minutes, the comments poured in. Rachel, "So proud of you." Lawrence, "Well deserved. Here's to your continued success." Colleagues, friends, even clients congratulating me. And from my family, silence. Saturday arrived crisp and clear. I spent the morning preparing Harbor Haven, not sure what to expect from Derek's visit. At exactly noon, his BMW pulled into my driveway. He stepped out slowly, looking around at the property with something like wonder. "Sarah, this place is—" He trailed off. "It's incredible." "Thank you," I said simply. We walked to the deck. I'd set out 2 chairs and a pitcher of iced tea. For a long moment, we just sat there, watching the water. "I've been in therapy," Derek said finally. "Started Tuesday night, after you left." I stayed silent, letting him talk. The therapist asked me to describe my family dynamic. And I did. Mom and Dad supporting my career, celebrating my achievements, being proud of me. "And then she asked about you." He paused, swallowing hard. "I realized I couldn't describe your life at all. I know what you do for work, sort of. I know you live in Chicago, but I don't know your favorite food, or what you do for fun, or who your friends are, or what makes you happy." His voice cracked. "I don't know my own sister." I took a sip of tea, giving him time. "I watched you grow up invisible," he continued, "and I told myself it wasn't my fault. That Mom and Dad made those choices, not me. But I benefited from those choices, Sarah. Every time they celebrated me instead of you. Every time they prioritized my needs over yours, I accepted it. I expected it." "Yes," I said quietly. "You did." "I'm sorry." He looked at me, tears streaming down his face. "I'm so fucking sorry. For using your contacts without asking. For expecting you to contribute to my anniversary party. For never once asking how you were doing. For being so blind and selfish and—" "Derek," I held up a hand. "I appreciate the apology, I do. But you need to understand something." I turned to face him fully. "I'm not doing this to punish you or Mom and Dad. I'm doing this to save myself. For 32 years, I made myself smaller so you could shine brighter. I celebrated your wins while mine went unnoticed. I gave and gave and gave until there was nothing left. I know." "I'm not finished." My voice remained steady. "I bought this house because I needed a space where I matter, where my achievements are valued, where I'm not just Derek Mitchell's sister or Richard and Claudia's disappointing daughter. I needed to choose myself." Derek nodded, wiping his eyes. "Can I show you something?" he asked. He pulled out his phone, opening a photo. It was me at 7 years old on a tire swing in our old backyard, laughing at something beyond the camera, joy lighting up my whole face. "I found this in Dad's storage last week," Derek said. "Started going through old photos after Tuesday night. There are hundreds of pictures of me, professionally taken, perfectly staged. And then there's this one photo of you, just one, candid, real, happy." He looked at the image with something like grief. "You existed, Sarah. You were there, laughing and playing and being a kid. And we didn't see you." I stared at that little girl in the photo, the one who still believed her family would eventually notice her. "I had it restored and framed," Derek said. "It's in my car. I wanted to give it to you. Proof that you existed, even when we weren't looking. It wasn't a solution. It wasn't enough to erase 32 years, but it was something. A beginning." "Thank you," I said. We sat in silence for a while, watching boats drift across the lake. "What happens now?" Derek asked finally. "I don't know," I admitted. "I'm not ready to go back to family dinners where I'm invisible. I'm not ready to pretend everything's fine. I'm definitely not contributing to your anniversary party," he laughed. A broken, wet sound. "I already told Amanda we're having a small dinner instead. Just us and a few friends. Mom's furious." "I bet she is." "She wants to see you," Derek said. "Both of them do. They're upset about how you embarrassed them, but I think underneath that they're scared. Scared they've lost you for good. I considered this. They haven't lost me, I said slowly. But they don't have unlimited access to me anymore either. I'm building boundaries, choosing when and how I engage, protecting my peace. That's fair, Derek said. More than fair. He stood to leave, then hesitated. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. The promotion, this house, standing up for yourself. I'm really proud of you, sis. The words hit differently than I expected, because they were real, unscripted, unprompted by our parents. Just Derek seeing me finally. Thank you, I said. That means something. After he left, I sat on the deck until sunset, processing everything. One conversation didn't fix. 32 years of damage. But it was a start, and maybe that was enough for now. 2. Weeks passed in relative peace. I threw myself into my new role as senior director, building my team, strategizing campaigns, finally using my full creative potential without apologizing for it. Rachel became my second in command. Together, we landed 3 major clients in the first week alone. You know what's different about you? She observed one afternoon, reviewing campaign mock-ups in my office. You're not dimming yourself anymore. You're not making yourself smaller. You're just fully Sarah, and it's magnetic. She was right. Without the weight of family expectations crushing me, I'd found something I didn't even know was missing. Confidence. Not the fake-it-till-you-make-it kind. Real confidence. The kind that comes from knowing your worth and refusing to accept less. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Hi, Sarah. This is Amanda, Derek's wife. Could we meet for coffee? I have something I'd like to discuss. No pressure if you're not interested. I stared at the message, suspicious. Amanda had never reached out to me independently before. We were cordial at family gatherings, but we'd never been close. Still, curiosity won. Sure, tomorrow? 2 p.m. at Lakeside Cafe near Harbor Haven. Her response was immediate. Perfect. See you then. The next day, I arrived at the cafe 15 minutes early, claiming a corner table with a view of the water. Amanda appeared right on time, looking uncharacteristically nervous. No designer sunglasses, no perfectly styled hair, just tired. Thank you for meeting me, she said, sitting down. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't, I admitted. What's this about? She ordered a coffee, then turned to me with unexpected directness. I need to apologize. I blinked. For what? For going along with it all, Amanda said. For 5 years, I've watched your family treat you like an afterthought. And I said nothing. I benefited from it. The engagement party that overshadowed your graduation, the anniversary celebration they expected you to fund. I accepted it all without questioning whether it was right. She wrapped both hands around her coffee cup. After Derek came back from visiting you last week, he was different, quieter, reflective. He showed me that photo of you as a kid, and he broke down crying. Said he'd been a terrible brother. He's trying, I acknowledged. He is. We both are. Amanda leaned forward. But I wanted to talk to you about something else. Your mother, my defenses went up immediately. What about her? She called me yesterday, asked me to talk sense into you, said you were being unreasonable and dramatic, that you'd always been the difficult child. Anger flared hot in my chest. But here's the thing, Amanda continued. I told her no. I stared at her. I told her that from what I've witnessed, you've been the only reasonable one in this entire situation. That expecting you to fund our anniversary party was grotesque. That forgetting your birthday while throwing Derek a promotion party was cruel. That she needed to look at her own behavior before blaming you. My mouth fell open. She didn't take it well, Amanda said with a wry smile. Hung up on me. Derek's been getting angry voicemails about how I've turned against the family. Amanda, you didn't have to. Yes, I did. Her voice was firm. I'm going to be a mother soon. The words hung in the air. You're pregnant? I asked. She nodded. 12 weeks. We haven't told the family yet. And watching how your parents treated you, it terrified me. What if we have a daughter? What if Derek and I unconsciously replicate those patterns? Her eyes filled with tears. I don't want my child growing up invisible. I don't want to create another Derek who's celebrated for breathing while his sibling is ignored. So I'm setting boundaries now. With your parents, with Derek, with myself. I reached across the table, covering her hand with mine. That's incredibly brave, I said. I learned from you, she replied. Derek told me about the albums. The documentation, the way you stood up and said enough. I want that courage. For myself and for this baby. We talked for 2 more hours about her childhood, surprisingly similar to Derek's, as the golden child of her own family, about her fears of perpetuating harmful patterns, about boundaries and therapy and breaking cycles. Derek and I are going to couples counseling, she shared, and individual therapy. We want to be better, do better. That's all anyone can ask, I said. As we parted ways, Amanda hugged me tight. I know we're not close, she whispered. But I'd like to be, not because of Derek, because I genuinely like who you are, your strength, your integrity, your refusal to accept less than you deserve. I'd like that too, I said, surprised by how much I meant it. That evening, Derek called. Amanda told me about your conversation, he said. About the pregnancy. Congratulations, I said warmly. You're going to be a father. I'm terrified, he admitted. What if I'm like Dad? What if I play favorites without realizing it? The fact that you're asking that question means you won't be, I assured him. You're already more self-aware than he's ever been. Will you be part of the baby's life? He asked quietly. I know I have no right to ask, but I want my kid to know their aunt. The real you, not the ghost version the family created. Emotion welled in my throat. Yes, I said. I'd like that. Thank you, Sarah, for everything. For holding up that mirror even when it was painful. For not letting us off easy. After we hung up, I sat on my deck watching stars emerge. My phone buzzed again. This time my mother, I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Mom? Sarah. Her voice was tight, controlled. We need to talk about Amanda. What about her? She's being disrespectful, inappropriate. Derek needs to get his wife under control. The words were so absurd I actually laughed. Under control? Mom, she's not a dog. She told me I was cruel to you, my mother continued, voice rising. She said I was a bad mother. After everything I've sacrificed. What have you sacrificed? I interrupted. Name one thing you actually gave up for me specifically. Not for Derek, not for the family. For me. Silence. That's what I thought, I said quietly. Amanda told you the truth. And you can't handle it. I'm your mother. Biologically, yes. But mothers show up, Mom. They remember birthdays. They celebrate their children's achievements. They see both their kids, not just the one that reflects their expectations. You're being cruel, she whispered. No, I'm being honest. There's a difference. I took a breath, steadying myself. I'm willing to have a relationship with you, but it's going to be on my terms, with boundaries. With honesty, with the expectation that you'll actually try to see me, the real me. I've always seen you, she protested weakly. Then tell me my favorite color, or my favorite food, or what I wanted to be when I grew up. Tell me one dream I had that you actually paid attention to. More silence. That's what I thought, I said again. When you're ready to actually see me, call me back. Until then, I need space. I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking, but my heart felt light. Boundaries. I was learning to set them. Enforce them. Protect them. The next morning brought a surprise. My father's car in my driveway at Harbor Haven. He sat on my porch steps, looking older than I remembered. Tired. Diminished somehow. Dad? I approached cautiously. What are you doing here? Derek gave me your address, he said. I needed to talk to you. I didn't invite him in. Just sat on the steps beside him, maintaining distance. Your mother's a wreck, he began. Dad, if you came here to guilt-trip me, I didn't. He held up a hand. I don't know what I came to do. He stared out at the lake, jaw working. I saw the albums. After you left, I made your mother leave them out. I went through every page. His voice cracked. You were right. About all of it. The favoritism. The neglect. The way we prioritize Derek's life over yours. It's all documented there, clear as day. I waited. I grew up in a family where emotion was weakness, he continued. where success was measured in achievements and status. I became what they made me, and I passed it on to you and Derek, expected you both to be perfect in ways I defined. He turned to look at me finally, but Derek fit my definition. And you didn't, so I dismissed you, overlooked you, convinced myself you were fine because you didn't complain, didn't make demands, didn't ask for attention. Tears streamed down his face, the first time I'd seen my father cry since his own father's funeral 20 years ago. I failed you, Sarah, completely, utterly, and I don't know how to fix it. You can't, I said gently. You can't fix 32 years, but you can choose to do better starting now. How? He asked. Tell me how. Therapy. Individual and family. Actual effort to know who I am, not who you think I should be. Acknowledgement when you fall back into old patterns. Genuine celebration of my achievements without comparing them to Derek's. I met his eyes, and understanding that I have boundaries now. I won't attend every family dinner. I won't drop everything when you call. I won't sacrifice my peace for your comfort. Can you accept that? He nodded slowly. I can try. Trying is a start. We sat in silence for a while. This house, he said finally. It's beautiful. You chose well. Thank you. Your mother and I never taught you how to choose yourself, he said. But somehow you learned anyway. Maybe that's the one thing we did right, failing you enough that you had to become strong. That's a terrible silver lining, Dad, he laughed, a broken sound. Yeah, it is. Before he left, he pulled an envelope from his pocket. I was going through old files. Found this. Thought you should have it. Inside was a letter I'd written at age 10. A Father's Day card. Dear Daddy, my childish handwriting read. Thank you for working so hard for our family. I know you're busy with Derek's stuff, but I hope someday you can come to my spelling bee. I'm really good at spelling. Maybe you'd be proud. Love, Sarah. I'd forgotten writing this. Did you come to the spelling bee? I asked, though I already knew the answer. No, he admitted. I had a business trip. And Derek had a soccer tournament. We chose the soccer tournament. He looked at me with devastation in his eyes. You were excellent at spelling. You won regionals that year. I know because I found the certificate in the box with this card, shoved in with old tax returns. Like your achievement was paperwork to be filed away, I folded the letter carefully. Thank you for showing me this, I said, for being honest. It's the least I can do. After he left, I added the letter to my own collection of evidence, not as a weapon this time, but as a reminder of where I'd been and how far I'd come. 3 months passed like water flowing downstream, steady, unstoppable, transforming everything in its path. Harbor Haven became more than a house. It became my sanctuary, my proof, my declaration of independence. I'd wake up to sunlight on water, coffee on the deck, and the absence of anyone's expectations except my own. At work, my team flourished. We landed the Thornton account, a $15 million campaign that had been pursued by 5 other agencies. When we won the pitch, Lawrence called an all-hands meeting. This is what happens, he announced, when you empower truly talented people to lead without limitation. The applause felt genuine, earned, mine. Rachel cornered me afterward. You know the industry's talking about you, right? 3 headhunters called me this week asking if you were open to offers. Are you trying to get rid of me? I joked. Never. But I want you to know your worth extends beyond this building, beyond this city. You could go anywhere, Sarah. Do anything. The thought should have been exciting. Instead, it made me realize something. I didn't want to go anywhere. I'd spent 32 years running toward approval, chasing validation, trying to earn love that should have been freely given. Now, I just wanted to be still, to build, to grow roots in soil I'd chosen. My relationship with my family evolved in strange, unpredictable ways. Derek and Amanda invited me to their first ultrasound appointment. I sat in the waiting room while they went in, looking at parenting magazines and feeling unexpected tears prick my eyes. When they emerged, Derek's face was radiant. It's a girl, he said. We're having a daughter. Amanda hugged me tight. We want to name her after you. Sarah Grace, if that's okay. I couldn't speak, could only nod. We want her to know her aunt, Derek continued. The aunt who taught us what courage looks like, what choosing yourself means. I met them for dinner once a month, sometimes twice, building something new from the rubble of what had been broken. But my parents, that was more complicated. My mother called weekly now instead of daily. Short conversations, stilted, like she was reading from a script. How are you doing? She'd ask. Good. Busy with work. That's nice. Derek mentioned you're coming to dinner Sunday? I'll be there. Good. That's good. And that was it. Surface-level pleasantries devoid of real connection. But at least she was trying. My father joined me for lunch once a month. We'd meet at a cafe halfway between Chicago and Harbor Haven. Talk about work, mostly. Sometimes the news, rarely feelings. But during our fourth lunch, something shifted. I started therapy, he said abruptly, setting down his sandwich. Individual counseling. Twice a week. I looked up, surprised. Your mother thinks it's unnecessary, he continued. Says I'm being dramatic. But my therapist, Dr. Morrison, he's helping me understand things. About my childhood. About patterns I didn't even realize I was repeating. That's really good, Dad. He asked me to make a list, my father said, pulling out a folded paper. Of times I prioritized Derek over you. I've been working on it for 2 weeks. He slid the paper across the table. I unfolded it carefully. The list went on for 3 pages. Every birthday missed. Every achievement dismissed. Every moment he'd chosen Derek over me, documented in my father's precise handwriting. At the bottom, he'd written, I'm sorry, 57 times, once for each entry. I can't undo any of these, he said, voice rough. But I wanted you to know I see them now. Finally, I see them. I refolded the paper, throat tight. This matters, I said. This acknowledgement. It doesn't erase the hurt, but it matters. Dr. Morrison says I need to grieve the relationship we could have had, my father continued. That I need to mourn what I destroyed through neglect. And then I need to ask if you'd be willing to build something new, different, better. I'm willing, I said. As long as you understand it won't look like what you're used to. I'm not going to shrink myself anymore. I'm not going to accept less than I deserve. I don't want you to, he said. I want to know who you actually are, not who I projected onto you. It wasn't a complete healing, but it was a start. The family dinners resumed, but with new rules. I arrived when I wanted. Left when I chose. Spoke up when something bothered me. The first dinner back was awkward. My mother had cooked all of Derek's favorite foods, as usual. Sarah, I said midway through the meal. My name has an H, always has. She blinked at me. What? You spelled it wrong in the family group chat. And in several texts, it's S-A-R-A-H, with an H color crept up her neck. I know how to spell your name. Do you? Because evidence suggests otherwise. Derek coughed into his napkin. Amanda's eyes widened. My father set down his fork. Claudia, she's right. I've seen you spell it without the H multiple times. My mother's face crumpled. I don't... It was just a typo. 32 years of typos, I said quietly. I'm not trying to embarrass you, Mom, but these small things, they matter. They add up. They tell me whether you actually see me. She left the table crying. My father started to rise, then stopped. Looked at me. Should I? That's between you and her, I said. I'm not responsible for managing her emotions anymore. He nodded slowly, then went after her. Derek leaned across the table. That was intense. That was necessary, I corrected. Later, my mother returned. Red-eyed but calmer. I'm sorry, she said stiffly, for misspelling your name, for a lot of things. It wasn't the apology I deserved, but it was something, baby steps at work. Lawrence called me into his office on a Friday afternoon. Sarah, I have a proposition for you. I settled into the chair across from his desk. Curious. We're opening a West Coast office, he said. Los Angeles. And I want you to head it. Full autonomy. Your own team. Equity stake in that branch. Essentially, you'd be building the LA division from the ground up. My heart raced. That's incredible. You'd still maintain your Michigan property, he continued. This would just be during the week. Fly home on weekends if you want. Or split your time however works for you. Can I think about it? Take 2 weeks, he said. But Sarah, you've outgrown this office, this city. You're ready for something bigger. That night, I sat on my deck, watching the sunset, turning the offer over in my mind. Los Angeles. My own division. A fresh start in a city where no one knew me as Derek's sister or Richard and Claudia's disappointment, just Sarah Mitchell. Marketing executive, self-made success story. The idea was intoxicating, but something held me back. I called Mrs. Henderson. "Come over, dear," she said immediately. "I just made lemon bars." An hour later, we sat in her cozy living room, tea and pastries between us. "I got offered a promotion," I told her. "Los Angeles. My own office. Equity stake. That's wonderful. What's the hesitation?" "I just got settled here," I admitted. "Just built this life where I feel safe, where I'm close to Derek and Amanda and the baby, where I have you, and now I'm supposed to uproot again?" Mrs. Henderson smiled. "My dear, you're not uprooting. You're expanding. There's a difference." "What do you mean?" "You've built your foundation," she explained. "This house, these boundaries, this sense of self. Now you get to build upward, outward, take everything you've learned and apply it somewhere new. What if I lose myself again? What if I fall back into old patterns?" "You won't," she said firmly, "because you know what those patterns look like now. You've done the work, faced the pain, set the boundaries. That doesn't disappear just because you change zip codes." I sipped my tea, considering. "Besides," she added with a twinkle in her eye, "I expect regular video calls and at least one visit a month. Los Angeles has excellent flights to Michigan," I laughed. "You're trying to get rid of me." "Never. But I'm also not holding you back from your potential. You've spent too much of your life being held back. That Monday, I accepted the position." Lawrence's grin nearly split his face. "You won't regret this. When do I start?" 3 months. That gives you time to build your team, transition your current accounts, and find a place out there." Rachel was ecstatic. "Can I come? Please tell me I can come. I'm so ready to leave Chicago winters behind." "You're my first call," I assured her. "I need a second in command I trust completely." Over the next month, I built my LA team, recruited talent from across the country, set up systems and protocols, designed the office space. I felt alive in a way I never had before, creating something entirely mine. With my vision, my leadership style, my values, no family expectations, no one to prove myself to, just building. My 33rd birthday arrived on a Tuesday. This year was different. This year, I woke up to 17 text messages, all from people who genuinely cared about me. Rachel, happy birthday to the best boss and friend anyone could ask for. Derek and Amanda, happy birthday, Aunt Sarah. Baby Sarah says happy birthday too. She's kicking like crazy. We think she knows. Mrs. Henderson, another trip around the sun, dear. So proud of who you've become, Lawrence. Happy birthday to our rising star. The LA office is lucky to have you, and even from my parents. Happy birthday, Sarah, with an H. We love you, and we're proud of you, Dad and Mom. I stared at that last text for a long time. We're proud of you. Words I'd waited 33 years to hear. They didn't erase the past, didn't undo the damage, but they were a beginning. That evening, I threw myself a party, not a big production, just close friends at Harbor Haven, food and drinks, and laughter on the deck. Rachel gave a toast. To Sarah, who taught us all that choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. Derek and Amanda arrived late, bringing a gift wrapped in silver paper. Inside was a framed photo. Me at 7 on that tire swing, laughing, joyful, fully alive. For your Los Angeles office, Derek said, so you never forget the girl who learned to fight for herself. I hugged him tight, this brother I was slowly learning to know. Thank you, I whispered, for trying, for changing, for seeing me. Thank you for not giving up on us, he replied. My parents didn't come to the party. I'd invited them, but kept expectations low. But the next morning, a package arrived. Inside was a beautiful leather journal with my name, spelled correctly, embossed on the cover. A note was tucked inside. Sarah, with an H. We weren't there for your birthdays. We weren't there for so many moments that mattered. We can't get those back, but we can be here for what comes next. Use this to document your Los Angeles adventure, your achievements, your life, And know that we'll be reading every update you're willing to share. We're learning to see you. Finally, truly, love. Mom and Dad. I sat on my deck holding that journal, watching morning light dance across the water. 33 years old, a new city waiting, a new chapter beginning. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for anyone's permission to be happy. I was just happy. 3 months later, I stood in the lobby of a glass tower in downtown Los Angeles, watching the California sun pour through floor-to-ceiling windows. The 10th floor was mine. Well, ours. Mine and the team I'd built from scratch. Sarah! Rachel emerged from the elevator, arms full of boxes. You have to see the office. The view is insane. I followed her up, heart pounding with anticipation. The space was everything I'd envisioned. Open floor plan with private offices along the perimeter, a conference room with a view of the Hollywood Hills, a kitchen area with an espresso machine I'd insisted on. Desks arranged to encourage collaboration without sacrificing focus, and at the far end, my office.corner unit. Windows on 2 sides, a view that stretched from downtown to the ocean on clear days. Welcome to Mitchell Marketing West, Rachel said, using the name I'd chosen. Not Horizon West, not a satellite office, my own brand, my own vision. It's perfect, I breathed. The next 2 weeks were a blur of onboarding, client meetings, and establishing ourselves in the LA market. I'd recruited 8 people total. Rachel as my second, 5 account managers with diverse backgrounds, 1 creative director who'd left a top New York agency specifically to work with me, and 1 administrative genius named Marcus who kept us all organized. We landed our first client on day 3, a sustainable fashion brand looking to break into mainstream retail. The kind of mission-driven company I'd always wanted to work with but never had the authority to pursue in Chicago. Why us? The founder, Maya, asked during our pitch. You're brand new. No track record in LA. Why should we trust you with our brand? I didn't hesitate. Because I know what it's like to be overlooked, I said. To have value that people refuse to see. To build something meaningful and watch others dismiss it. Your brand deserves someone who understands that fight, who won't stop until the world sees what you've created. She signed the contract that afternoon. By week 3, we had 6 clients. By week 6, 12. Word spread fast in LA. The new agency led by the woman who'd walked away from everything to build something better. People liked that story, the underdog narrative, the self-made success. What they didn't know was how much it cost to become that person. I flew back to Michigan every other weekend, maintaining my connection to Harbor Haven, to Mrs. Henderson, to the life I'd built as my foundation. On one of those trips, Derek and Amanda invited me to their baby shower. I almost said no. Family events still felt loaded, complicated, like walking through a minefield of old patterns and new boundaries. But Amanda had specifically asked, please come. We want Sarah Grace to know her aunt from day 1. So I went. The shower was held at my parents' house, neutral territory that felt anything but neutral to me. I arrived fashionably late, giving myself an easy exit strategy if needed. The garden was decorated in soft yellows and whites. Guests milled around with champagne and tiny sandwiches. My mother held court near the gift table, playing the role of doting grandmother-to-be. She spotted me immediately. Sarah. She approached with outstretched arms, then hesitated, remembering I'd set boundaries about unexpected physical affection. Hi, Mom, I said, keeping my voice neutral. You look wonderful, she said. California agrees with you. It does. Awkward silence stretched between us. I'm glad you came, she finally said. Derek and Amanda really wanted you here. I wanted to be here too, I replied, surprising myself with the truth. My mother's eyes filled with tears. Sarah, Mom, I stopped her gently. Not here, not now. Today's about Derek and Amanda and the baby. She nodded, dabbing at her eyes. You're right, of course. I made my rounds, greeting relatives I hadn't seen in months. Some were warm, others were clearly uncomfortable, unsure how to interact with the family rebel. My cousin Jennifer pulled me aside near the dessert table. You caused quite the scandal, she said, not unkindly. Leaving Chicago. Starting your own thing. The family's been talking about it for months. Let them talk, I said, selecting a cupcake. Aunt Claudia thinks you're trying to make them look bad. I'm trying to live my life, I corrected. Their reaction to that is their choice. Jennifer studied me for a long moment. You're different. Stronger somehow. I'm just finally myself. Derek found me as the shower was winding down. Can we talk? He asked. Somewhere quiet? We walked to the old gazebo at the edge of the property. The same place where we'd played as kids, back when our relationship was simpler. Amanda and I have been talking, Derek began, about guardianship. If something happens to us, my heart clenched. Derek, we want it to be you, he interrupted. We want you to raise Sarah Grace if we can't. I stared at him, speechless. I know it's a huge ask, he continued quickly. And I know we have years of damage to work through. But you're the person I want my daughter to become. Strong, independent, unafraid to set boundaries, capable of choosing herself without apology. Tears streamed down my face. You'd really trust me with her? More than anyone else in the world, Derek said. You're the only person in this family who broke the cycle, who looked at the dysfunction and said no more. That's the legacy I want for my daughter. I hugged him tight. Yes, of course, yes. I'd be honored. That evening, my father found me sitting alone on the porch steps, watching the sun set over the lake. Mind if I join you? He asked. I gestured to the space beside me. We sat in silence for a while, the way we'd started doing at our monthly lunches. Comfortable silence. No pressure to fill the space with meaningless words. Your mother's struggling, he finally said. With everything. With you being in California. With the changes in our family dynamic. I know, I said quietly. She wants to fix things, he continued, but she doesn't know how. Doesn't know what fixed even looks like anymore. Fixed looks like her actually knowing me, I said. Not the version of me she created in her head. The real me. My favorite things. My dreams, my fears. What makes me laugh? What makes me cry? My father nodded slowly. She's been keeping a journal. Writing down things you mention in conversations. Trying to learn you. The image of my mother, proper. Controlled Claudia Mitchell. Keeping notes about her own daughter was somehow both heartbreaking and hopeful. That's something, I acknowledged. It's not enough, my father said. I know it's not, but it's what she can do right now. What we can both do. Small steps toward being the parents you deserved from the beginning. He pulled an envelope from his pocket. I wrote you a letter, he said. My therapist suggested it. Writing down everything I want to say without the pressure of your response. I'm not asking you to read it now, or ever if you don't want to, but I wanted you to have it. I took the envelope, feeling its weight. Thank you, I said. No, he replied. Thank you. For not giving up on us entirely, for giving us a chance to be better. Not every child would do that. I'm not doing it for you, I admitted. I'm doing it for me. Because I don't want to carry this anger forever. Because I want to see if something new can grow from all this damage. That's fair, he said. That's more than fair. Back in Los Angeles, life took on a rhythm that felt sustainable. Work challenged me without consuming me. I built systems that allowed for success without sacrificing well-being. Hired people I trusted. Delegated effectively. Rachel and I became partners in every sense. She kept me grounded when I pushed too hard. I encouraged her leadership when she doubted herself. You know what's wild? She said one evening, working late on a client presentation. 6 months ago, you were invisible in your own family. Now you're building an empire. Not an empire, I corrected. Just a life that feels like mine. We landed the Ravencrest account in month 4, a tech company going public that needed a complete brand overhaul. The contract was worth $2 million over 18 months. Lawrence called from Chicago, pride evident in his voice. You're exceeding every projection, he said. The board is thrilled. You're proving that the Mitchell marketing model works beyond Chicago. It's not about the model, I replied. It's about empowering people to do their best work, trusting them, celebrating them. Sounds like you learned that lesson personally, he observed. Yeah, I said. I did. I bought a small house in Silver Lake. Nothing like Harbor Haven. This was just a weekday base. But I made it comfortable. filled it with art and books and furniture that made me happy. Mrs. Henderson video called every Sunday. Tell me everything, she'd demand. Settling into her chair with tea, I'd share stories about clients, about the team, about life in California. You're thriving. Dear, she said one Sunday, truly thriving. It's beautiful to see. I miss you, I admitted. I miss you too. But this distance is good for you. You're discovering who you are without anyone else's expectations hanging over you. Even yours? I teased. Especially mine, she said warmly. Though my only expectation was always that you'd choose yourself. And you're doing exactly that. My mother started calling more regularly. Still awkward. Still stilted, but trying. I made your favorite dessert today, she said during one call. At least I think it's your favorite. Lemon bars? That's Mrs. Henderson's specialty, I said gently. But I do like them. Silence. Then, what is your favorite dessert? Tiramisu, I admitted. Always has been. Oh, I could hear her writing. I didn't know that. I know, Mom. That's why I'm telling you now. Small conversations. Building slowly toward understanding. My father sent monthly letters. I didn't always read them immediately. Some days I wasn't emotionally prepared. But I kept them all, a record of his evolution. One letter detailed his own childhood, the rigid expectations of his father, the lack of warmth, the measuring of worth through achievement. I became my father without realizing it, he wrote, and in doing so, I damaged my own children. I'm working to break that cycle. It's the hardest work I've ever done. Another letter was simply a list. Things I've learned about. Sarah loves thunderstorms, prefers coffee to tea, reads mystery. Novels, volunteers at animal shelters, cries. During sad commercials, laughs at dad jokes despite. Herself dreams of writing a book someday. That last one surprised me. I'd mentioned it once in passing during a lunch. Months ago, he'd been listening. On my birthday, 33. I woke up in Los Angeles to sunshine streaming through my windows. My phone lit up with messages. But one made me pause. A video from Derek and Amanda. I pressed play. They were in their nursery. Amanda's belly now prominently showing at 7 months. Happy birthday, Aunt Sarah, Derek said to the camera. We wanted to show you something. The camera panned to the nursery wall. There, painted in soft watercolors, was a mural. A little girl on a tire swing, laughing, arms spread wide, reaching for the sky. We hired an artist to recreate that photo, Amanda explained. So Sarah Grace grows up seeing her namesake, seeing the aunt who taught us what courage looks like. I cried watching that video. Happy tears. Healing tears. That evening, I threw a small dinner party at my house in Silver Lake, Rachel and the team. Some new LA friends I'd made. A life I'd built from scratch in 6 months. To Sarah, Rachel toasted, who proved that walking away from what hurts you isn't giving up, it's leveling up. Glasses clinked. Laughter filled my home, and for the first time in my 33 years, I felt completely, utterly, undeniably seen. Not because my family finally acknowledged me, but because I'd learned to see myself. 8 months into my Los Angeles adventure, I received an unexpected call. Sarah Mitchell? A woman's voice, professional and warm. This is Caroline Winters from Entrepreneur Magazine. We're doing a feature on women who've built successful businesses in male-dominated industries. Your name came up multiple times in our research. My heart skipped. I'm flattered. We'd love to interview you for our cover story. Are you interested? I said yes before fully processing what it meant. The interview happened 2 weeks later. A journalist named Maya spent 6 hours with me, touring the office, talking to my team, digging into my story. What made you leave Chicago? She asked during lunch. You had a senior director position at a respected firm. Why start over? I chose my words carefully. I realized I was building someone else's dream instead of my own, I said. And I'd spent my whole life shrinking to fit other people's expectations. It was time to expand into my own space. Was it scary? Terrifying, I admitted. But staying small was more frightening than the risk of failure. The article published 6 weeks later, I was on the cover of Entrepreneur Magazine. Me, Sarah Mitchell. The overlooked daughter, the invisible sister. On the cover. The headline read, Sarah Mitchell, How One Woman Turned Family Disappointment into Business Triumph. I stared at that magazine in a newsstand on my way to work. Unable to process it, my phone exploded with congratulatory messages. Rachel, cover girl.
I'm framing this!
Lawrence, incredible feature. You're putting both offices on the map, Mrs. Henderson. So proud I might burst. You've always been extraordinary. Now the world knows it too. And then, from my parents, we saw the article. We're speechless. And so very proud. Can we talk? I called them that evening, standing on my small Silver Lake balcony, watching the Los Angeles sunset. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. They were on speakerphone together. Sarah. My mother's voice cracked. The article. It was beautiful. But also painful, my father finished. Reading how we made you feel. Seeing it in print for the world to see. I didn't name you, I pointed out. I didn't throw you under the bus. You didn't have to, my mother said. We recognized ourselves in every word. The family that prioritized one child's achievements over the other. The parents who couldn't see their daughter's worth. Silence hung heavy between us. Are you angry? My father asked. That we're part of your story? Your success story built on our failure? I considered the question honestly. No, I said finally. Because it's the truth. And the truth is what set me free. My story includes what you did and what I chose to do about it. That's not revenge. That's just reality. We want to do better, my mother said. We've been trying, but clearly not hard enough if the world can see our failures in black and white. Mom, Dad, I said gently, you don't get to control my narrative anymore. That's not how this works. I'm going to tell my truth. You can either be part of my healing or not. That's your choice. We want to be part of it, my father said quickly. Whatever that looks like, however long it takes. Then keep doing the work, I replied. Keep showing up. Keep trying to see me. That's all I'm asking. The magazine feature changed things in ways I hadn't anticipated. 3 venture capital firms reached out about funding an expansion. 2 major brands requested meetings about potential partnerships. A publisher contacted me about writing a book. Your story resonates, the publisher, Janet, explained over video call. Women who've been overlooked, undervalued, pushed aside. They need to know they can build something meaningful anyway. I don't know if I'm ready to write a book, I admitted. Think about it, she said. No pressure, but when you're ready, we'd love to work with you. At work, the Ravencrest campaign launched to massive success. Their IPO exceeded projections. Our creative campaign was featured in Adweek. Mitchell Marketing West wasn't just surviving, we were thriving. We need to expand the team, Rachel said during a strategy meeting. We're turning away clients because we're at capacity. How many more people? I asked. At least 5, maybe 10 if we're being ambitious. I looked around the conference room at the team I'd built. 8 people who trusted me, who believed in the vision, who showed up every day giving their best. Let's do 10, I decided. Let's be ambitious. We hired strategically. Diverse perspectives, different backgrounds, people who'd been overlooked elsewhere and were hungry to prove themselves. People like me. By month 10, we had 18 employees and a waiting list of potential clients. Derek called one Wednesday afternoon, voice tight with barely contained excitement. She's here, he said. Sarah Grace Mitchell, born at 6:47 this morning. 7 pounds, 4 ounces, perfect. Emotion flooded through me. How's Amanda? Exhausted, beautiful, amazing. She's incredible, Sarah. Our daughter is incredible. I'll fly out this weekend, I promised. Actually, Derek said, we were hoping you could come sooner, like tomorrow. We want you to meet her while she's brand new. I checked my calendar. 3 client meetings I could postpone. A presentation Rachel could cover. I'll be there tomorrow afternoon. 24 hours later, I stood in Amanda's hospital room, looking down at a tiny human wrapped in a pink blanket. Sarah Grace, my namesake. She had Amanda's nose and Derek's chin and eyes that seemed to look right through me. Want to hold her? Amanda asked. I nodded, unable to speak. Derek placed his daughter in my arms with exaggerated care. She weighed nothing, everything, all the hope and potential and possibility in the world wrapped in 7 pounds of human. Hi, Sarah Grace, I whispered. I'm your Aunt Sarah. We have the same name. That's pretty cool. She yawned, a tiny perfect yawn, and my heart cracked open. We're going to tell you stories about your aunt, Derek said softly. About how she taught us to be brave. How she showed us what it means to choose yourself. How she broke every bad pattern so you could grow up without them. Tears streamed down my face. No pressure on this kid, huh? Just the truth, Amanda said. We want her to know that her family isn't perfect, that we've made mistakes, but we're trying because of you. My parents arrived an hour later. They stopped short when they saw me holding the baby. Sarah, my mother breathed. You came. Of course I came. She approached slowly, looking between me and her granddaughter. She's beautiful, my mother whispered. Both Sarahs are beautiful. It was such a simple statement. But coming from her, loaded with meaning. Want to hold her, Grandma? I offered. My mother's face crumpled. May I? I carefully transferred Sarah Grace into my mother's arms. She looked down at her granddaughter with wonder, and when she looked up at me, her eyes were full of tears. I'm sorry, she whispered, for every time I didn't hold you like this, for every time I didn't see how beautiful you were, for every moment I missed. I know, Mom, I said. I know it wasn't forgiveness, not completely, but it was acknowledgement, and that mattered. My father stood apart, watching the scene with an expression I couldn't quite read. Dad? I approached him. You okay? I'm thinking about cycles, he said quietly. About how Sarah Grace gets to grow up in a family that's breaking the bad patterns. Because of you. Because you refuse to accept the dysfunction. He turned to me, eyes serious. You saved this family, Sarah. You know that, right? By walking away. By refusing to enable us. By demanding better. You saved us. I saved myself, I corrected. You're all saving yourselves. Because you showed us how, he insisted. That evening, the whole family gathered at Derek and Amanda's house for an impromptu celebration. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't seen in almost a year. The atmosphere was different this time. People asked about my business, about Los Angeles, about the magazine feature. They listened when I talked, instead of waiting for their turn to speak. My cousin Jennifer pulled me aside. You've changed the family dynamic, she observed. Everyone's more careful now, more aware. Like they're scared of becoming the cautionary tale in your success story. That wasn't my goal, I said. I know, but it's the result, and honestly, we needed it. The Mitchell family was toxic in ways we didn't want to admit. Was? I challenged gently. Is working on not being, she corrected with a wry smile. Later, I stood in Derek's backyard, alone for a moment, looking up at stars barely visible through the Chicago light pollution. My phone buzzed. A text from Rachel. Just closed the Davidson account. $3 million over 2 years. Called to tell you first, because this is your vision making it happen. Proud to be part of your team. I smiled, typing back. Our vision, our team. This is ours. Footsteps approached. Derek, carrying 2 beers. Thought you might need this, he said, handing me one. We stood in comfortable silence. Brothers and sisters finally learning to just be. Thank you, Derek said eventually. For what? For not giving up on me, on us. It would have been easier to cut everyone off completely, but you gave us a chance to change. You did the work, I pointed out. You and Amanda, the therapy, the self-reflection, the actual effort to be different. That's all you. You gave us the blueprint, though, he insisted. You showed us what boundaries look like, what self-respect looks like, what refusing to accept less than you deserve looks like. He turned to face me fully. Sarah Grace is going to grow up knowing her worth, he said, because you taught us how to see it. In her, in ourselves, in you. Inside the house, through the window, I could see my mother holding Sarah Grace, my father standing beside them, both looking down at the baby with expressions of pure love, the same love they'd shown Derek his whole life. But now, maybe they were learning to extend it wider, to share it, to give it to daughters who demand to be seen. Progress. Imperfect, slow, messy progress. But progress nonetheless. 1 year after my 32nd birthday, the one they forgot, I found myself back at Harbor Haven for a long weekend. The lake house had remained my anchor through everything. The physical representation of choosing myself. I'd flown in from Los Angeles on a Friday evening, planning to spend 3 days doing absolutely nothing. No clients, no calls, just me and the water and the peace I'd created. Saturday morning, I woke to my phone buzzing with a FaceTime call from Mrs. Henderson. "Good morning, dear," she said, her face filling the screen. "I have a surprise for you. Come down to the lobby." "Mrs. Henderson, I'm at Harbor Haven, not my Chicago apartment." "I know where you are," she said mysteriously. "Just come to your front door." Confused, I padded to the door in my pajamas. There, on my porch, sat Mrs. Henderson in a lawn chair, a thermos of coffee beside her. "Surprise," she called. "My grandson drove me up. I hope you don't mind a visitor." I burst into tears and pulled her into a hug. "I always have room for you," I said. We spent the day on the deck, talking about everything and nothing. She told stories about her late husband, about the life she'd built on her own terms after he passed. I told her about Los Angeles, about the team, about the complicated healing happening with my family. "You know what I'm most proud of?" she said as the sun began to set. "Not your business success, though that's wonderful. Not the magazine cover, though that's impressive. I'm most proud that you didn't let bitterness consume you." "What do you mean?" "You had every right to become hard," she explained. "To close yourself off completely, to punish your family forever. But you didn't. You set boundaries while leaving the door open for real change. That takes wisdom most people never learn." "It doesn't always feel wise," I admitted. "Sometimes it just feels exhausting." "That's because healing is exhausting," she said. "But you're doing it anyway. That's the bravery, dear. Not the walking away. The staying open to possibility while protecting yourself." That night, alone on the deck after Mrs. Henderson had gone to bed, I opened my father's most recent letter. "Dear Sarah," it read, "Dr. Morrison asked me to write about what I've learned this year. Here's what I told him. I learned that love isn't enough if it's not accompanied by action. I told myself I loved you, but I didn't show it in ways that mattered to you. I learned that good intentions don't erase harmful impact. I never meant to make you feel invisible, but my intentions are irrelevant compared to what I actually did. I learned that pride can blind you to your own children. I was so focused on Derek becoming the son I envisioned that I couldn't see the daughter I already had. I learned that it's never too late to change, but it might be too late to undo the damage. All I can do is be better going forward. I learned that sometimes the greatest gift a child can give their parent is honesty, even when it destroys the narrative the parent wants to believe. You gave me that gift. It hurt. It still hurts. But it's helping me become the father I should have been all along. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect a return to how things were, because how things were was broken. I just hope for the chance to build something new, something real, something worthy of who you actually are. Thank you for not giving up on that possibility. Love, Dad. I folded the letter carefully and added it to the box I kept of his correspondence. A record of evolution. Proof that people could change, even when you'd given up hope. Sunday afternoon brought an unexpected visitor. My mother's car pulled into the driveway. I watched from the window, heart rate increasing. We hadn't planned this. She was supposed to be in Chicago. She got out slowly, looking uncertain, nervous. I opened the door before she could knock. "Mom? What are you doing here?" "I hope you don't mind," she said quickly. "Derek told me you were here this weekend. And I wanted to talk to you, alone, without your father, without Derek. Just us." I stepped aside, letting her in. She looked around the lake house with wonder, taking in the space I'd created. "It's beautiful, Sarah," she said. "Truly beautiful. It's so... you." "Thank you." We sat on the deck, glasses of iced tea between us. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. "I've been seeing my own therapist," my mother finally said. "Dr. Chen. She's helping me understand things about myself, about my childhood, about the way I was raised." I waited, giving her space. "My mother favored my brother too," she continued, voice quiet. "I was the daughter who was supposed to be pretty and pleasant and marry well. He was the son who was supposed to achieve things, and I hated it. I hated feeling less than. Invisible. Unimportant." She turned to look at me, tears streaming down her face. And I did the same thing to you. I recreated the exact dynamic that hurt me so much. How is that possible? How could I become my mother when I swore I never would? Because that's how cycles work, Mom, I said gently. Unless you actively break them, you repeat them. I'm so sorry, she sobbed. I'm so sorry, Sarah. I stole your childhood, your confidence, your sense of belonging. I made you feel the way I felt, and I can't take any of it back. I reached across the table, taking her hand. No, you can't take it back, I agreed. But you can acknowledge it. You can do better. You can be the mother to Sarah Grace that you weren't to me. You can break the cycle even if you can't erase the past. Is that enough? She whispered. Can that possibly be enough? I don't know, I admitted. But it's something, and something is better than nothing. She pulled a small wrapped package from her purse. I brought you something. For your birthday, your real birthday, last year's that I missed. Inside was a photo album. But this one was different. This one was filled with pictures I'd never seen before. Me as a baby, sleeping in my mother's arms. Her looking down at me with tenderness. Me at 3, covered in finger paint, laughing. My mother laughing too. Me at 5 on my first day of kindergarten. My mother kneeling beside me, fixing my hair, pride evident in her expression. I took these photos, my mother explained, before everything got complicated. Before I got so caught up in the family expectations and the social pressures and the need to produce a perfect son for your father. I loved you, Sarah. I did. I do. She pointed to a photo of me at 6 months old. You were such a happy baby, she said. You smiled at everyone, laughed constantly. You brought so much light into our lives. What happened? I asked. Derek happened, she said quietly. And suddenly there were expectations. Your father's family wanted a son to carry on the Mitchell name. My mother kept asking when we'd have a boy. And when Derek came along, all that pressure eased. Everyone was happy, proud, satisfied. She wiped her eyes, and I let that dictate everything. I let external validation become more important than actually seeing my children, both of my children. I looked at those early photos, evidence of love that got buried under expectation. Thank you for showing me these, I said. I want to know you now, my mother said. The real you, not who I thought you should be, who you actually are, what you actually like, what makes you happy. That's going to take time, Mom. I have time, she said. However long it takes. I want to spend the rest of my life making up for the first 32 years. It wasn't a magic fix. One conversation didn't heal decades of hurt, but it was a beginning. That evening, after my mother left, I sat on the deck watching the sunset and thinking about everything that had changed in 1 year. I pulled out my phone and opened the Notes app, started typing. What I've learned about choosing yourself. Choosing yourself doesn't mean abandoning everyone else. It means refusing to abandon yourself in service of others. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors you control. You decide who gets access and when. Family doesn't get unlimited chances to hurt you just because you're related. Blood might be thicker than water, but chosen family is sometimes healthier than biological family. Success built on authentic self-worth feels different than success built on seeking approval. The first sustains you. The second exhausts you. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for dysfunctional family members is refuse to enable their dysfunction. Pain can be a powerful teacher. You can't force people to see you. You can only insist on being seen or walking away. The people who truly love you will celebrate your wins, not make you feel guilty for having them. Healing isn't linear. Some days you'll feel strong and clear. Other days the old patterns will try to reclaim you. Both are part of the process. You don't owe anyone your peace. Not your parents, not your siblings, not your friends. Protect it fiercely. The moment you stop waiting for permission to be happy is the moment your real life begins. I read the list over, then posted it to social media with the caption, 1 year ago, my family forgot my birthday while throwing a party for my brother. Today I'm grateful they did, because it woke me up, forced me to see patterns I'd been ignoring, gave me permission to choose differently. If you're reading this and you feel invisible in your own life, know that you're not crazy. Your feelings are valid. Your worth isn't determined by other people's ability to see it. And choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. Happy birthday to me. and to everyone else who's learning that you can love your family while also loving yourself more. The post went viral within hours, thousands of comments from people sharing their own stories of being overlooked, of choosing themselves, of breaking cycles, of building lives on their own terms. Your story gave me permission to leave my toxic family. I've been the Sarah in my family my whole life. Thank you for showing there's another way. Bought myself a birthday present after reading about yours. Therapy. Best gift I ever gave myself. A week later, back in Los Angeles, I sat in a meeting with the publisher who'd approached me months earlier. I'm ready to write the book, I told her. But on one condition. What's that? It's not a revenge story, I said. It's a healing story, about breaking cycles, about the hard work of setting boundaries, about the messy, imperfect process of family members actually trying to change, about choosing yourself without burning everything down. Janet smiled. That's exactly the book people need. 6 months later, I turned in the manuscript. Invisible. How I Learned to Choose Myself Without Losing My Family would publish the following spring. On my 34th birthday, I woke up in Los Angeles to a surprise. My doorbell rang at 7 a.m., still in my pajamas. I opened the door to find Derek, Amanda, and 1-year-old Sarah Grace on my doorstep. Surprise, Derek said, bouncing the baby on his hip. We flew in last night. Figured your first birthday in LA shouldn't be spent alone. Sarah Grace reached for me, and I took her, inhaling that perfect baby smell. You guys are crazy, I said, but I was grinning. Come in. Amanda carried in bags of groceries. We're making you breakfast. Real breakfast. None of that green juice nonsense you California people drink. I don't drink green juice, I protested. Yet, Derek said ominously. Give it time. They made pancakes and bacon while Sarah Grace played with blocks on my living room floor. It was domestic and chaotic and perfect. Mom and Dad wanted to come too, Amanda said carefully, flipping a pancake. But we told them this was just us, that they'd have their chance to celebrate you later. Thank you, I said, meaning it. This is perfect as it is. After breakfast, we drove to the beach. Sarah Grace's first time seeing the ocean. She was terrified at first, clinging to Amanda when the waves rushed toward us. But slowly, cautiously, she began to laugh, reaching for the water with chubby hands, squealing with delight. She's got your fearlessness, I told Derek. She's got your determination, he countered. Watch how she keeps going back even when the waves knock her down. We took photos, built sandcastles, collected shells, normal family things. The kind of things we'd never done when we were kids, because everything was always structured, scheduled, perfect. This was messy and spontaneous and real. That evening, Rachel organized a surprise party at my favorite restaurant. My entire LA team was there. Some clients who'd become friends, Mrs. Henderson on video call from Michigan. Even Lawrence had flown in from Chicago. Speech, Rachel demanded, clinking her glass. I stood, looking around at all these faces, people who saw me, celebrated me, showed up for me. A year ago, I began. I spent my birthday alone with a store-bought cake, waiting for phone calls that never came. I felt invisible, unimportant, like I didn't matter. I looked at Derek and Amanda, sitting with Sarah Grace. Today I'm surrounded by people who prove that I was wrong. Not about feeling invisible, that was real, but about the solution. I thought I needed my family to finally see me, to validate me, to make me matter. I turned to the broader group, but what I actually needed was to see myself, to validate myself, to know my own worth independent of anyone else's acknowledgement. And once I did that, everything changed. I raised my glass. So thank you to everyone here. You didn't make me matter. I already mattered. But you reflected that truth back to me until I could see it myself. That's the real gift, glasses clinked. Someone wiped away tears. Sarah Grace threw a piece of bread, and everyone laughed. Later, after the party wound down, I stood outside the restaurant with Derek. I'm proud of you, sis, he said. For building this life, for not letting bitterness win, for giving us a chance to be better. I'm proud of you too, I replied. For doing the work, for breaking patterns, for being the father to Sarah Grace that Dad wasn't to us. We're breaking the cycle, Derek said. Together, I agreed. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Happy birthday, Sarah, with an H. I hope you're having a wonderful day surrounded by people who love you. I'm one of those people, even if I didn't show it properly for too long. I love you, Mom. It was simple, honest, without performative drama or guilt-tripping progress. I texted back, thank you. Mom, I love you too. And I meant it, not the desperate, conditional love of a child seeking approval, but the complicated, boundaried love of an adult who'd done the work to see her parents as flawed humans trying their best. The next morning, Derek's family flew back to Chicago. I returned to work, to my team, to my life. But something had shifted. The wound that had defined me for so long, the invisible daughter, the forgotten child, was finally healing, not erased. The scar would always be there, but healed. 3 years later, I stood in a bookstore in downtown Los Angeles, looking at the display table near the front entrance, stacks of books with my name on the cover. Invisible, How I Learned to Choose Myself Without Losing My Family, had been out for 6 months. It had hit the New York Times bestseller list. Spent 12 weeks there. People from all over the world had reached out to share their stories. Their own journeys of being overlooked, of choosing themselves, of breaking cycles. The book had sparked conversations about family dynamics, about favoritism, about the courage it takes to set boundaries with people you love. Today was my book signing event. My 3rd in Los Angeles, but the first where my entire family had come. My parents sat in the front row. My mother held Sarah Grace, now 3 years old, on her lap. My father sat beside them, reading glasses perched on his nose as he flipped through the book. Derek and Amanda were there. Mrs. Henderson had flown in, sitting with Rachel and several team members. The bookstore was packed. Standing room only. I took a breath and began. 3 years ago, I spent my 32nd birthday alone, I said. My family was throwing a party for my brother. They forgot about me completely. And that night, sitting alone with a store-bought cake, I had a choice. I looked around the room. I could have stayed small, stayed silent, continued accepting crumbs of attention and telling myself it was enough. Or I could choose differently. I held up the book. This is the story of choosing differently. Not perfectly, not easily, but choosing myself anyway. And what I learned is that choosing yourself doesn't mean you lose everyone else. It means you refuse to lose yourself. For the next hour, I read excerpts, answered questions, signed books. People shared their stories with me. Tears, gratitude, recognition. You gave me permission to set boundaries with my mother, one woman said. Your story helped me understand why I always felt invisible, a young man shared. I bought this for my daughter, another woman said. So she grows up knowing her worth doesn't depend on other people's ability to see it. After the official signing ended, my family lingered. Sarah Grace ran up to me, arms outstretched. Auntie Sarah, I saw you on TV. I scooped her up. You did? Uh-huh. Grandma showed me. You were talking about your book. Are you famous? I laughed. Not famous, sweet pea. Just telling a story. My name is in the story, she announced proudly. Daddy showed me. That's right, I said. You're a very important part of the story. My mother approached, hesitant but hopeful. Sarah, the reading was beautiful, she said. The way you talked about healing, about forgiveness being a process, not a destination, it resonated. Thank you, Mom. There's a section in the book, she continued, pulling out her own dog-eared copy. Chapter 14, about me learning to see you. You were very kind in how you described my journey. I described the truth, I said. The good and the hard. You did, she agreed. And I'm grateful. It's not easy being portrayed as the mother who failed. But you did it with compassion, even when I didn't deserve it. Everyone deserves compassion, Mom, even people who've hurt us. My father joined us, holding his own copy of the book. I've read it 3 times, he admitted. Each time I see something new, something I missed, some way I failed that I hadn't even recognized. Dad, let me finish, he said gently. I'm not looking for absolution. I'm just telling you that your words are still teaching me, still helping me become better. And I'm grateful you trusted me, trusted all of us, to be part of your story. Derek appeared with Amanda, who was pregnant again. Little brother this time, Derek announced. We're naming him Marcus, after Marcus Aurelius. We figured if we're naming kids after strong people, we should go big. That's a lot of pressure, I teased. Says the woman who named our first kid after herself. Derek shot back. We laughed, easy, natural, the way siblings should laugh. That evening we all had dinner together. My whole family, my LA friends, Mrs. Henderson, Lawrence, Rachel and her new girlfriend, chosen family and biological family blended together. I looked around the table, at faces that had hurt me, faces that had healed me, faces that had shown me what love actually looked like, and felt something settle deep in my chest. Peace. Not the peace of a perfect family with no problems, but the peace of a woman who'd done the work. Who'd set the boundaries, who'd chosen herself, and somehow, miraculously, hadn't lost everything in the process. After dinner, I stood on my small balcony. Looking out at the Los Angeles skyline, Rachel joined me. Handing me a glass of wine. How does it feel? She asked. The book, the family being here, all of it? Surreal, I admitted. 3 years ago, I couldn't imagine this. Any of this. You built it, Rachel said. Brick by brick. Boundary by boundary. You built a life that actually fits you. We built it, I corrected. This isn't just my story, Rach. You've been part of this journey from the beginning. True, she agreed. But I just showed up. You did the hard part. You faced the pain. You set the boundaries. You refused to accept less than you deserved. I sipped my wine, thinking. You know what's wild? I said. I spent 32 years desperate for my family to see me, to celebrate me, to choose me. And now that they're trying, now that they're actually making an effort, it doesn't feel like I thought it would. What do you mean? I thought their validation would fill some void inside me, I explained. That their approval would make me whole. But the truth is I filled that void myself. Their validation is nice, but I don't need it anymore. Not the way I did. That's growth, Rachel observed. That's freedom, I corrected. My phone buzzed. An email from my publisher. Sarah, the numbers are in. Invisible just hit 1 million copies. Sold. Congratulations. You've created something that's truly changing lives. I showed Rachel the email. She screamed, actually screamed, and pulled me into a hug. 1 million people, she said. 1 million people needed your story. That night, after everyone had left, I sat alone in my living room, holding my book. I flipped to the dedication page. For every person who's ever felt invisible, you matter. You always mattered. And the moment you start acting like you matter, setting boundaries, choosing yourself, refusing to accept less, is the moment your real life begins. And for my family, biological and chosen. Thank you for being willing to grow, to change, to do the hard work of breaking cycles. This book exists because of the patterns you created and the courage it took to break them. We're all works in progress, but we're progressing together with love and boundaries. Sarah. I closed the book and looked around my home, art I'd chosen, furniture I loved, a life I'd built on my own terms, and somewhere in Chicago, my parents were reading my book, learning to see me. In Michigan, Mrs. Henderson was probably making cookies and telling her neighbors about her Sarah. In their home, Derek and Amanda were tucking Sarah Grace into bed, probably reading her stories about strong women who chose themselves. And here, in Los Angeles, I was finally completely, undeniably at peace. Not because everything was perfect, but because I'd learned the lesson I'd been avoiding my whole life. Your worth isn't determined by other people's ability to see it. It's determined by your willingness to see it yourself. And once you see it, really see it, you stop waiting for permission to be happy. You stop making yourself small. You stop accepting crumbs and calling it love. You start building a life that actually fits the person you are, not the person others wanted you to be. That's not revenge. That's not even justice. That's just freedom. And it's available to anyone brave enough to choose themselves, even when it's terrifying, even when it costs something, even when the people you love can't understand. You choose yourself. Anyway, because you're worth choosing. You always were. I just wish someone had told me that 32 years ago. But maybe that's the point. Some lessons you have to learn yourself. Some boundaries you have to set yourself. Some lives you have to build. Yourself, and in the building, in the choosing, you become the person you were always meant to. Be strong, whole, free, finally, blessedly free. If there's one thing I want you to take away from my story, it's this: choosing yourself is not selfish, it's survival. For too long, I believed that being a good daughter, a good sister, a good family member meant sacrificing my own needs, making myself smaller, accepting less. But that's not love. That's dysfunction. Real love celebrates you, sees you, shows up for you. And if the people in your life can't do that, if they consistently make you feel invisible, unimportant, less than, you have permission to create distance, to set boundaries, to build a life where you matter. You don't need to burn bridges, but you also don't need to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Some people will rise to meet your boundaries. They'll do the work, change their patterns, try to be better. Others won't. They'll call you selfish, difficult, ungrateful. Let them. Your peace is worth more than their comfort. Your worth is not up for debate, and your life, the one you build when you finally choose yourself, will be more beautiful than anything you could have imagined. So if you're reading this and you feel invisible, I see you. You're not crazy. You're not asking for too much. You're not broken. You're just finally waking up. And once you wake up, you can't go back to sleep. So wake up. Set the boundaries. Choose yourself. Build the life you deserve, the one where you're not invisible anymore, where you're celebrated, not tolerated, where your birthday is remembered, not forgotten, where you finally matter. Not because someone else decided you do, but because you decided it yourself. And that changes everything.